in order. What remains is slaughter. As long as Zionists remain in power, let's change the hour of one day to now. Let's move. Every step to justice, Allah will bless you. Every heart accepts truth will be successful.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome Brother Johnny Achi, an organizer with the Arabs for Syrian America. I would like to reference the October 31st article in the New York Times as fighting rages in Syria, Clinton seeks new opposition movement. The United States indicated on Wednesday that it was undertaking its most aggressive attempt yet to reshape the Syrian opposition, with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton dismissing the current leadership as a bunch of out-of-touch exiles should be replaced with a group more representative of the fighters. Brother Johnny, this continues on with, I guess, our central theme that we have explored over the last couple of months on this question of Syria, that in fact, number one, the fighting forces, the Syrian National Council really are composed of outside forces as well as the ground forces inside Syria. The so-called rebels come from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, from Al-Qaeda, cells throughout the world, point A. And point B, the United States is the decision maker. They were saying that at a recent Arab League conference that was organized and pushed by the United States, controlled by the United States, that they demanded a new leadership structure to the Syrian National Council. Clearly, we see the hands of the United States and Israel orchestrating this whole phenomenon that's occurring in Syria. So we want you to elaborate upon that.
Hello, Didan. Thanks for having me again on the show. It's always an honor. What you said, replacing the exiles that have been away from Syria for 20, 30, 40 years, not all of them are political exiles. They just chose to work for the enemies of Syria, and they've been sitting outside Syria for 40 years. They're trying to replace them with not political opposition inside of Syria, which are plenty of them that we respect and we wish they would be dealt with by all as a representative of the opposition. On the contrary, they want to say that the exiled do not represent, but the fighters on the ground, who are mostly Islamist militants, represent the opposition. Neither one does. The reason they're pulling their hands away from what we call Syrian National Council, that the United States has tried to push on us for 19 months now, is that no one recognizes them. They don't recognize their names, their faces. They don't represent anybody on the ground. But this is the trick that the United States have tried to do with Libya, and it worked for Libya. They brought exiles. They called it the same Libyan National Council. It worked because it was done so quick. Before the world can realize what the big lie was, they were able to, have NATO bombs Libya and replace the government. In Syria, it took too long. It got to a point where everybody is realizing we cannot have this replace the government, the current government, or to be a transition government. We don't recognize these people. We don't want them. Most Syrians realize no matter whether they're on the side of the current government or not on the side of the current government, they do not want a foreign intervention, and this council represents foreign intervention. So now to say we're going to go and have representation from the militants on the ground, that's even worse. The majority of Syrians today refuse anyone who carried a weapon against the Syrian government and the Syrian army. So, replacing one bad with a worse is not going to solve the problem. There are plenty of oppositions in Syria, truly political oppositions, who have actually been in jail for their political persuasion. Those people we respect. And the Syrian government are willing to work with these people. These are oppositions that will not, that will maintain the peace and stability and the unity of the Syrian soul. Oppositions that will maintain the historical, national, and resisted position that Syria has against its enemies. In other words, a position that will continue to keep Syria as a secular social composition which respects all the rights of minorities and women. We will refuse in Syria to have a replacement of this current government, that is a secular government, to be replaced by any kind of a puppet to the United States, even an Islamic militant, which you think they might be so far away. No, the U.S. has made a deal with the Muslim Brotherhood of Syria, just like they made the same deal with Libya, Tunisia, and Egypt. If you look on all three countries, the new government today is Muslim Brotherhood. So the deal is, we have those Islamist militants, let them turn Syria into what they call autocratic theocracy. It doesn't matter. As long as they protect the interests of the West, and that's what the deal is made. We will have peace in Israel, we'll protect your interests, you can steal our resources, but let us have our Sharia, our Islamic state in Syria like they currently have in Egypt and in Tunisia and Libya. And the people of Syria are not willing to go backward. They only want to go forward.
You know, we're listening to Johnny Achi from Arab Americans for Syria. Johnny, I noticed in reports that, in fact, the bloc that has not supported the United States creating a no-fly zone over Syria, headed by Russia, has submitted a political proposal to resolve the crisis in Syria peacefully through a political solution. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, I know a lot about that, and I'm surprised that people don't talk about that. The U.S. position regarding the settlement of the Syrian conflict runs counter to the agreement reached in Geneva. The agreement reached in Geneva on June 30th, that was the only thing that everybody agreed on, including the Syrian government, including part of the opposition, which, if you remember, on June 30th, they met in Geneva. There was all the foreign ministers from UN Security Council permanent member states and all other countries neighboring Syria and somehow involved in the conflict. And they agreed on, they proposed on establishing a transitional Syrian government that would include both the current Syrian government and opposition forces, all different opposition forces, and a transitional cabinet and a transitional government until we go to next year election and let a better person win. The majority in Syria still believe that Bashar al-Assad is the best man for the job, and if the opposition in a year's time they can provide someone who might be better, let the polls. We will have elections with the foreign monitors, and let the person who wins win. But to drop this government and put us into chaos and emptiness, that is something Syria will not accept to do. And they will not accept to do because we saw what happened in Libya. I mean, we're not that stupid after we see what happened in Libya and how right now Libya, and even the U.S. paid the price, with the assassination of the ambassador. They are nothing but different militant groups taking over the country and fighting each other in the chaos. You see what happened in Iraq. I mean, the same lies over and over. It's always proven false. They went into Afghanistan based on to fight terrorism. That was proven false. They went into Iraq to prevent Saddam from using weapons of mass destruction. It was proven false after killing maybe 1 million Iraqi and close to 6,000 American soldiers and injuring millions. They went into Libya to prevent Muammar Gaddafi from bombing Libya so they can bomb it themselves, okay, and take the resources of the land. And they are right now given the same reason. By the way, it's a NATO war today on Syria, U.S.-NATO proxy war, meaning someone else is fighting. They're given the same reasons that the killing of peaceful protesters. I think had the media been truthful in the beginning, the Syrian crisis would have ended on the spot, okay? Except that, if we have time. Do we have time, Didan?
No, we've got to wrap up, but I'll be having you on regularly like we've been doing in the past.
Yes. So basically, tomorrow there's that meeting for the opposition. They're trying to put a different face, but they are all faces, different faces of the same coin. But I think we need to stick to the June 30th, Geneva Convention. That's the only thing that's going to take Syria out of the crisis it's in. And hopefully the U.S. will realize that Russia and China are not going to change their mind about Syria, and then we can move forward.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Johnny Achi from Arab Americans for Syria. You had a great program last week, and Cynthia, among yourselves, among others, provided some really good information to counterbalance the Democratic Party and the liberal profit and non-profit, bombing us with this notion that the rebels' point of view is the only point of view out there. We thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Forward.
What's the prettiest sight in the world? Some say a white on white or a red on red machine. Some say